Okay, so now we're going to code our play and quit buttons that are currently not doing anything. To do so, we're going to open our play button scene. So click the button to open it in the editor next to the node, and we want to add a script to our play button node. Click add script. By default, it should go in the right spot, user interface /playbutton.gd. Note that I'm using the empty template once again. Click load or save the script to open the script editor. We're going to make the button do something, change the scene when we click it, or rather when we release pressing the button. To do so, we have to use a signal. Select the play button, go to the node tab next to the inspector, and you can see that you have a base button category with a few button related signal. Button down is going to trigger when you press or start pressing the button down, when it is down. Button up will trigger when you release the button. So releasing the button is when I click, the button changes shade. It's when I release the click, that very moment, this is button up. This is what we're going to use here. So select button up, click connect, and you're going to connect to the play button. I'm going to change at the bottom the method in node to on button up, because this is happening on this node on its attached script already, so we don't need to have a more complicated name. Click connect to go to the script editor and have the on button up function created for you. There we will change the scene. So that is how our play button is going to work. We're going to do that by getting the node tree. The node tree is what you see in the scene tree, but we want to get the one from the game. So you go get tree dot change scene. And then you have to give Godot a path to a new scene. So a path would be anything you will get if you drag and drop a scene from the file system here into the code editor. I'm going to go to the levels folder, for example, and click and drag the file into the script editor. As you can see, this writes the absolute path to the file itself relative to the resource folder, which is the root folder of your Godot project. Now, we don't want to have a hard-coded path in here. We want to make our button reusable. Actually, we're not going to call it play button in this scene, but we'll call it the change scene button, for example. And we might want to rename the scene as well on the file system. So go to the user interface folder, play button, right-click. We want to rename it to change scene button. So go back to the script editor now, and I'm going to add an exported variable. So we're going to do export variable next scene path, and it's going to be empty by default. And I'm going to add a colon to automatically set the variable to a string. And in the change scene call that you can see in there, I'm going to change the string in parentheses and use next scene path instead. All right. Now, we can do a little better than that, because if you go to your change scene button in the inspector, you should have that next scene slot, but it would be nice if we could directly select a file from there. It turns out that we can. So let's go back to the script editor, and after the export keyword, in parentheses, we can give some parameters to tell Godot what this string is going to be exactly. And in this case, it's going to be a file path. So add parentheses after export, and we're going to first tell Godot that this exported variable is going to be a string, and then we want that string to use a file browser slot. So you have a few keywords you can use here, constants. You have file, and you have multi-line, for example, if you want to have a large text field. But in our case, we're going to use file. Save, go to your change scene button again, and you should see the folder icon next to the next scene path. Now you can click that folder icon to go find a scene file in your project. Okay, well, I'm not going to do that here because our button is going to have a different path in every scene where it will be used. So while creating a smart, reusable component, let's say. We're going to do a little more than that. We're going to see how to add a warning if we forget to set the next scene path. Because if you forget to set it, you're going to get nothing as the path is empty, right? You just click the button, nothing happens. So we're going to go back to the script, and first, at the top of the script, we're going to add the tool keyword. Tool allows you to run any code inside of the editor. So this is the keyword you would use to create plugins in Godot, for example. Then there is a built-in feature to give warnings to the user. This is the warning you get, for example, when you add an area to the node, right? That warning icon here. To add that, we need a function called getConfigurationWarning. You should get autocompletion for it, and I will add the string return type. It's going to return a warning string if a certain condition is not met. So let's return next scene path must be set for the button to work. And we're going to do that. So let me expand the view here. If next scene path is an empty string, like so, else we return the empty string. So the warning will show in case we return a string with something inside of it, and that will happen if next scene path is not set, which is the default value here. So save that, and you will see the warning sign appear in the node tab. That is until we put something in next scene path. Sometimes you have to reload the scene or save for the warning sign to go away, but well, we have that set up. With that, now if you save and go to the main screen, we're going to set up our play button. So the next scene path here is going to be the path of our first level. So in the file system tab, navigate to level01.tscn, right click, can copy the path and paste it in the inspector. Then we want to code the quit button. It's going to be a lot faster and simpler. So open the quit button in the editor. We're going to change the layout, say it's going to be centered by default, or we can say top left, just to have a clean scene to work with. And we're going to attach a script to it. Create a new script with quit button selected. It's going to be saved in the user interface folder. And for this one, we're going to do the same. When we release the button, when it's up, we're going to quit the game. So go to the Node tab, double click the button up signal, or connecting it to the quit button. And I'm going to rename the function to onButtonUp. With that, when the button is up, we're going to call the quit function, which is on the tree, the scene tree object. So we call getTree to get that tree object, and we call its quit method. And that is it. With that, you can play the main screen, click the quit button, it'll quit the game, click the play button, and it will launch the first level.